appreciate the presence of minister and all the participants, which shows the importance that you are giving to the launch of this Pisa program. And we, the OECD, are happy to be with you to witness this moment for you to realize your dream, to be part of the international community of learning assessment and peer learning. I would also like to thank Polish experts who are with us. This is also a privilege for us to have this peer-to-peer cooperation between countries. This is actually the principle of Pisa, which is to initiate the learning among countries. Also, international experts and national experts are joining this event, so I hope we can conduct a meaningful discussion around Pisa and also other educational evidence to feed into the policy discussions. So as we would like to go for the press conference at 10, I would like to do a first part of my presentation for 10 minutes. Then after that, I will continue the detailed presentation later. So my presentation focuses on what we can learn from Pisa, so that you have more ideas in terms of what kind of evidence we can get from Pisa, what kind of policy questions that we can ask and answer through the participation of Pisa. Pisa is about international comparisons of educational outcomes and the context of learning and teaching of students. Why it matters? Because Pisa helps countries understand where you stand or how other countries are performing and what other strong performers are doing, so that you can find where you situate, but also what you can learn from countries facing the similar challenges, which could be done by sailing through the ocean of educational outcomes using the Pisa glasses. About Pisa, I would build on the latest data of Pisa, which is 2012. For Pisa, over 500,000 of students worldwide participated in the test. And Pisa is a sample-based test, so this represents actually 28 million students in different countries, more than 60 countries in 2012, of the age 15. And students sit for 2 hours to take this test, which is a bit different from the traditional test. It is not the test to understand the knowledge that students have, but rather we ask students to solve problems using the knowledge that they have learned in school. So this is really about competencies and literacies and how students can apply what they have learned in school in a situation that they have never encountered, which is actually what's happening in daily life of young people and adults. They have to all the time encounter the new problems, and they have to think of the new ways of understanding and solving the problems. So Pisa is the test of life. Pisa covers math, reading, and science literacy every 3 years. Then we add innovative domains. For 2012, we introduced problem solving, and sometimes countries opt for optional studies like financial literacies. Then students also respond to the questionnaires. This helps countries to better understand the context of students' learning and teaching in classrooms, so that we can understand and correlate the students' background with their outcomes, but also to better understand their engagement in learning, their learning environment, and what kind of support students get from teachers, from schools, from parents. And countries opt also for questionnaires to ask questions to parents, or 2018, there's a possibility to ask questions to teachers as well. and school leaders, so that we can also better understand how students' outcomes are related to school policies, practices, and what's happening in classrooms. It's the consolidation of international expertise. PISA cannot be done just by one country. This is the group of now 80 countries joining the efforts to develop together the PISA assessment. So Ukraine now is taking part in this PISA study. It is the benefit for Ukraine, but it is also the benefit for the international community. You are the very important asset to the knowledge base of international assessment. So we are very much looking forward to and welcoming the contribution of Ukraine in the PISA development. And also, PISA development is guided by the policy questions that you ask. We need policymakers' insights to ask the right questions in the right moment. So we need to better understand what kind of issues you are discussing, what kind of information you need to inform your policy making. So we are continuously in dialogue with policymakers of participating countries so that we keep PISA assessment relevant for policy making. Another strength of PISA is the comparability. We make sure and we mobilize the highest technical expertise for the comparability across different countries, different languages, and different cultures. And we triangulate the students' data with other data sources, including school principals, teachers, and parents. And we use a very advanced methods to develop the construct and design the assessment and analyze the assessment. Just give you some ideas of the type of the questions that we ask to students for PISA. This is a very simple example of the test question, asking students, there are 200,000 people climbing Mount Fuji between 1st of July and 27th of August. So how many climbers per day? This is a simple calculation of the average. This test so while waiting for the image, I just give you an answer already that this test is to test the basic level of proficiency. So this is one of the easiest items in PISA. Thank you very much. To assess the capacity of students to identify the average daily rates. So this is to understand the quantity understanding of students in the given context related to students' daily social life. It's not the school setting, but climbing the Mount Fuji is outside of school setting, and formulate the solutions. This is more complex math problems to measure the maximum arc length of this revolving door. This is a reading text, then students answer what is the theme of this text. This is also one of the easiest items. PISA has a proficiency level. 6 is the highest, 1 is the lowest, and level 2 is the baseline level, which all the young people, regardless of their countries, needs to acquire to prepare their future study and future work. PISA has also open-ended items. It's not only multiple choice. We ask students to read the text and understand the conversation between students, and they openly formulate their understanding and responses, for example. For this item, for example, OECD countries, only about half students gave right answers, and we have a very good coding guideline. I just give some of the beginning of the kind of results that we can get from PISA. This is probably something that you are familiar with. This is the list of the countries by mean score of mathematics, and you can see the ranking of the countries by the outcome, which is one dimension to understand the quality of education systems. To what extent 15 years old are achieving the math. But another very important dimension that PISA gives is the equity issues. Just performing high score is not enough. We want to ask questions to countries to what extent students, regardless of their socio-economical background, have chance to reach the highest potential. OECD average, but also relatively little impact of socioeconomic status on their students' performance. So wherever they are from, students, they have the good chance of performing well. Whereas countries in red zone, their performance is below OECD average, but also the impact of socioeconomic background of students count a lot. So this gives some insights into the equity level of education systems in countries. People may say that, well, some countries like Korea and Japan, they are performing well because they are spending lots of money or they are rich. But actually, if you see the level of spending, the picture is not that straightforward. If you see the countries and the bubble is the size of the money that they are spending per student, it looks like this. Some countries performing well, like Estonia, Japan, Korea, their spending per student is actually smaller than some of the other countries. And some countries like Norway, brown one on the right side, or Luxembourg, the big red bubble, they are spending much higher amount, but their performance is not as high as other countries. This implies that sometimes money itself doesn't explain. It is about where to focus, where to invest, and how to effectively use the resources. Probably I will spend 2 more minutes to highlight who are doing better or improving. Germany, Turkey, Mexico demonstrated significant improvement in performance, but also equity. So it would be interesting for countries to understand what's happening in these countries and what they have done to improve their performance. Some more countries have also made a significant improvement in math between 2003 and 2012. And also it's important to narrow the gap because in all countries there is a significant gap between students from top socioeconomic quintile and lower socioeconomic background. And the matter of policies are how to narrow the gap, how to give the chance to all students to perform well. The case of Germany, the gap was big in 2003. The top socioeconomic background students reached 570, whereas those who are from bottom quarter, only 450. They made efforts to narrow the gap, and especially they increased the performance of students coming from the low socioeconomic background. Then as a result, they improved the average. The US, they also had a big gap, and they narrowed the gap. But how they did it, they increased the performance of lower end of socioeconomic quotas, but top performers declined. They haven't improved. So as a result, the gap was narrowed, but total performance didn't really change. Poland is a very interesting case. They have done well both to increase the performance of lower socioeconomic background students, but also increase the top performers as well. And as a result, the overall achievement showed a significant improvement. So this is a kind of analysis that we have to do to compare across countries, but also importantly, countries need to do more in-depth analysis of country data so that you ask the relevant questions for your policy discussions, for your policy concerns, so that, as Minister said, you can get the objective evidence to feed into the policy discussions.